We're talking Carolina Panthers on the Our Football Network, Our Football YouTube channel, as it's time to recap the NFL draft. And anytime, of course, we talk about the Carolina Panthers, Rashad Beard joins us from Panther Nation Podcast. How's it going, Rashad?
All is well, man. I'm happy. Draft season has come and gone. No more mock drafts. We're here. It's the real
Yeah.
deal. So I'm excited, man. I'm happy about the class, and I'm sure we're going to get right into it.
Yeah, especially with that first overall pick for Carolina. There's a lot of, a lot of people who thought that Carolina might be one of those teams to trade down. And that didn't happen. It wasn't a whole lot of trading down in this draft. Of course, you had the big trade early on, and then you had to wait a while, which is not surprising with this group of prospects this season. But Carolina stand pat, and lo and behold, they had no desire to trade down. If anything, they were standing pat, just keeping their fingers crossed, hoping that the player that they eventually picked was still going to be there, Tech McMillan, and that's exactly what happened, and it all worked out for Carolina.
Yeah, T-Mac, man, it appears that he was the guy they wanted the entire time. Shout out to Dan Morgan, Dave Canales, and the entire GM front office. They played their cards very well. I hope Dan Morgan goes to Vegas, play some poker, because everybody in the world, all of Panther Nation, assumed that we were going to pick Jalen Walker or trade back. And that did not happen. They had their eye on Tetaroa McMillan the entire time. I think there was one guy that they would have chosen, and they were happy to see him go, and that was Mason Graham. If Mason Graham would have fell, I'm sure it would have been a tough decision between him and Ted. But
Okay.
T-Mac was the guy, and the entire time, I believe Dan Morgan said he made that decision in January, that T-Mac was the guy that they wanted. They stood patient. They waited. T-Mac fell to him, and they ran to the podium, man. And I'm happy about it. I believe T-Mac is a great player.
Yeah, that's the thing, especially whenever in a draft, when you're able to, as fans, when you're able to get a hold of skill position players, it's so much more exciting, because especially the top ones, because you it's a lot easier to identify them, and you just, so especially when they're as explosive, and the playmaking ability and the star quality that he has, it's so fun. Even though we talked about this. And I remember you saying something along the lines of that the Panther fans might be pretty upset if they went any other position other than defense.
Yeah, I think I said that probably before free agency, right? Yeah, because free agency, we addressed a lot of the defensive needs, right? We brought in a bunch of guys, so I thought we set ourselves up perfect for the draft, and so we did a good job. And I like the fact that in the Panther Nation, there's a little bit of mixed bag depending on who you talk to regarding T-Mac. I think my personal opinion, I don't know if you're ready for me to give my opinion on the pick,
Sure.
but my personal opinion is I believe that T-Mac, I've been saying this everywhere I've gone, everybody's asked me about T-Mac, is I believe he's the perfect puzzle piece to complete our offensive puzzle, right? He's not the most polished route runner. He's not the most polished guy in the world, but what he is the perfect piece for the Bryce Young's play style, right? If you go back to Bryce Young in Alabama, extending the plays, the backyard football, hey, go out there. I'm just going to throw it up and you get it. That's what Bryce Young did great at Alabama. And now he has a guy that can play kind of that backyard, the freestyling, extending the plays, and they're going to be able to communicate very well. And I believe T-Mac has very good underrated speed. You give him a runway, you get him open. He's a very good underrated route runner, good play strength, good elite body control, great ball tracking, big catch radius. Everything that Bryce Young needs, T-Mac has it. And I believe he's going to be that number one guy that we've needed and we've had the desire for since the great Steve Smith Sr. We have not had a true dominant wide receiver one since Steve Smith Sr. I believe T-Mac is going to be the guy moving forward. I think he's just that good.
Yeah, the offense now, it's amazing because it's taken a while, as you said, but now on paper, because the offensive line they addressed that last year with the two big free agency moves, that, and of course the draft pick in 2022, that now it's really starting to take shape where the quarterback, Bryce, after the way he looked in the second half of the season last season, if he just keeps developing, he's got everything he wants now. I mean, Chuba Hubbard had a great year last year. Now, the one missing ingredient, though, may still be a tight end. But there are a couple of players there, including Mitchell Evans, who they took in round 5.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with the tight end. I think we're kind of set. I think that if you bring Jatavion Sanders, he got hurt last year, but prior to him getting hurt, he was having a stellar rookie season. So I think Jatavion Sanders, Tommy Tremble, they give you a little bit of what you need from each, right? Jatavion Sanders, the receiving guy, Tommy Tremble's a blocking guy, and boy, I don't want to get too far ahead, but this Mitchell Evans pick was fan-freaking-tastic. To get him where you got him, this guy, did we not watch him in Notre Dame a couple of years ago? Bro, he was dominating.
Yeah.
I know he's got some injury issues.
Yeah,
he's got some injury issues, but this kid, between 8 to 10 yards, he is really, really good. And he's an elite, not elite. I know I got a little excited. He's a very good blocker, right? So you put him in line, he's very good. And he's solid enough from a receiving target standpoint. So I think he's good. I think Mitchell Evans, he's going to have time to develop. Hey, take your time. We don't need you to go in there day one and be the guy. We've got Tommy Tremble. You got Jatavion. But over a couple of years, year 2 or year 3, this kid is going to be very, very good. Mitchell Evans is a very, very underrated pick. Very underrated pick.
Yeah, and even if he does wind up, let's just say the injuries persist, like you said, Sanders is there. He also just needs to stay healthy. So as long as Sanders or Evans stays healthy, you're still in really good shape. And look, if you can go three tight end deep and everybody stays healthy, then you're in great shape. And then the team also added a running back before Evans, before Evans in round 4, and Trevor Etienne. Were there any other running backs on the board that you would have preferred? Or do you think Etienne, what was your reaction to the Etienne pick? Do you think Etienne just fits what they're looking to do?
This is probably my least favorite pick of the entire draft. I'm not a fan of the Etienne pick, not the fact of the player. I like Etienne. I don't like where we got him in the 4th round. I don't like that. We probably could have got him a little bit later. Being that he's going to be RB3, I believe that you invested a pretty high pick. 4th round pick is pretty high for a guy that's going to be, in a 3-headed monster and maybe contribute in special teams. I didn't agree with that pick. I don't know. I have to go back and look at the board to see if there was another guy there that I would have wanted. I just don't like taking running back there at that particular spot. Like I said, due to him being RB3. So my least favorite pick, I think he's going to be solid in the rotation. He's going to give you a little bit of a receiving threat out the backfield. He's not going to be a bell cow guy. He wasn't even a bell cow guy at Georgia. Yeah. So I mean, he's got a lot of tread on the tire, right? He wasn't utilized that much at Georgia. So that's a positive, right? You don't want a guy that's run down. So I think that is a positive. I just don't know. I'm not a fan of that pick.
I'm there with you. Everything just about what you said. I just, and I do believe that there were some really, I think more accomplished running backs that they could have taken. But again, sometimes just a better fit. That's what the coaches believe. And Etienne's just a player that I just don't think has ever lived up to the player that everyone thought he might be when he entered college football. But hey, who knows? Look at James Cook, also Georgia. Nobody expected James Cook to blossom into the player he was. What he did, not that, of course, Etienne had even, I think, what Cook delivered in college, but still, I think that's a decent. How's Jonathan Brooks? What's going on there?
And that's another reason why I don't like this pick, because the only reason we made this pick was because Jonathan Brooks is injured, right? And Jonathan Brooks, from what I'm hearing, and again, this is no breaking news. I don't have any sources. This is just what the word on the street is, that he's probably going to end up sitting out the entire year, although he is progressing. He's progressing. But I don't know if he's going to be available at all. If he is going to be available, probably going to be towards the middle to the end of the season. And I don't think they have any interest in rushing him back at all.
Okay.
So I have a feeling he's going to sit out the entire season and come back, which is why they signed Rico Dowdle for that 1 year. And then obviously we drafted Etienne. So you're going to have a nice, solid 3-headed monster either way. So they protected themselves. So I don't like that we had to make the pick, but we kind of had to make the pick for Etienne. We had to get another guy in there. Rico is, again, a 1-year rental, so you got to kind of build that depth. So I get it. I understand it. Just don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for Etienne, I think that's all it's about. It's about where he was chosen. Otherwise, they needed a number 3. Now the backfield looks very a definite upgrade over last year's depth, and that's a good sign. And then Jimmy Horn went in round 6, and to me, good player. I think there were other receivers around there, but I think he's. I don't think it was a reach. It wasn't like they drafted him in the 4th round. So what do you like? What do you see about Jimmy Horn that you think might fit here, that he might be able to make the team?
Yeah, no, Jimmy Horn, again, he addresses an area of need, which is special teams.
Okay.
Special teams is a huge need for us. We haven't had a true change maker in special teams in a long time, right? Yeah, with all due respect to Raheem Blackshear, he's solid, he's steady, he's gonna field the punt or the kick. But after that, I don't expect him to be a game changer. And that's what Jimmy Horn could bring to you. He's a dog. He's got that dog mentality, i.e. in liking of Steve Smith Sr., not calling him Steve Smith Sr. by any stretch of the imagination. But he has that kind of dog in him. He's got quickness. He's explosive, quick out of his breaks, kind of get him in that jet sweep, kind of get him in motion, get him moving. I think you're going to be able to get a dynamic play out of Jimmy Horn. And again, that kick and punt return value is going to be the biggest thing, and it is a huge area of need for the Carolina Panthers. So I do expect him to eventually make the roster and provide a spark in special teams.
Okay. And before we leave offense, there were some considerable, just on offense, signings that Carolina made that I really like. And now they added Lynch Adams in the backfield. He had a productive final season. And matter of fact, even Amani Bailey is someone that last year came in that I think could be interesting when you see him at camp. I'm an Ethan Garbers guy. I really like Ethan Garbers. I think that I'm not talking about a starter, obviously. I think he could develop into a nice backup. So maybe in 2027, he could all of a sudden be Carolina's number 2. But Luke Condra, to get him after the draft, I think was a really good signing. I like Condra. He had a very productive college career. And then Kobe Hudson, to be able to get Kobe Hudson after the draft too. I know there are some issues with Hudson, but he's also a dynamic player. So, I mean, I think they did really well after the draft, just sticking to the offensive college signings.
Yeah. I haven't dove really too much into the UDFAs yet because I haven't seen them actually publicly release the names for them all. So I haven't really dove really, really deep into them yet. But I do like the 2 receivers. I like Jacoby George. I like Kobe Hudson. Those are really 2 good pickups. I also like we got Musa Muhammad III. That's going to be interesting, obviously, with his family. Ties connected to Carolina Panthers. Again, not expecting him to make the roster or anything like that, but it is a cool little story. But yeah, I like the UDFAs that we picked up. I don't think we have anybody in the that I fell in love with like a Jalen Coker last year per se, but I think it's a solid group for sure.
All right. Well, then again, we've got some time. So
got plenty of time.
Absolutely. When we talk to you again in a couple of months, if that how long it takes, maybe you'll have an update for us about something that you've heard or something that you've seen. Okay.
For sure.
Before we move over to defense, look, I mean, I kind of answered this question myself, but do you think there's any holes right now on offense?
Yeah, no, I think all cylinders are a go. We're firing on all cylinders right now on offense. I think Bryce Young now has weapons. And listen, I think that wide receiver room, not just with T-Mac, right? Coker is kind of put his name in the hat, right? So he's strongly in the wide receiver 3 range, right? And now you got guys, T-Mac. XL needs to take that next step, right? I think XL, the pressure is now off of XL to be that wide receiver 1. He's now set in at wide receiver 2, in my opinion. And I think that takes an immense amount of pressure off of him. So I think he can now, all right, I got it. I don't have to be the guy. I can be who I am. And I think now that that's in place, I think he's really going to take that next step and truly be a wide receiver 2. Adam Thielen, obviously, that guy. And then Hunter Renfrow, who we signed. Again,
nice.
I'm not saying that Hunter Renfrow is going to go back to what he was, but if he does, right, he's going to push this entire roster, right, the entire room forward. So I like this Hunter Renfrow pickup. Again, shot in the dark, low risk, high reward potentially. So I do like this. I do like the pickup. Obviously, sat out all last year due to ulcerative colitis that he had. So again, he's got to get his wind back, got to get developed, got to get everything back right. But if he does, he also can provide special teams ability. Again, this whole wide receiver room has elevated. Everybody is going to be pushed forward. Nobody is safe, right? I can name you 7 guys right now that are solid in that wide receiver room. Somebody's going to get cut. Somebody's going to be disappointed.
Is that David Moore, by the way, as far as the veterans? Do you think he'll still be able to make the team?
Yeah, so I'm not the biggest David Moore guy. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think there is a part of the fan base that hey, you got to have that veteran. I'm cool. When you got guys like Coker that have started to turn the corner, these guys are developing. You got to let them go. Let him go. David Moore, I respect him because he knows the system. He's been with Canales a long time, right? He's going to follow Canales from Seattle to Tampa and now to Carolina. Let's throw him on the practice squad. He can be that veteran presence from the practice squad. You know what I mean? So respectfully, all due respect, we got dogs. Like we got some guys that need those reps. We need the jersey. They need the jerseys on Sundays, right? So when you got T-Mac, XL, Coker, and potentially Hunter Renfrow, maybe Jimmy Horn, these guys, they need to see the field. So respectfully, David Moore, I'm cool. I would be cool with letting him go to the practice squad. I don't think he provides too much that we don't already have on the roster that's better than him, just to be honest. So, but all that to say, the whole room is getting pushed, and that's what I like about it.
Yes, yeah. And look, there's nothing wrong with having that veteran as like insurance in case there are injuries or the players aren't developing as fast as you would like. Hey, I got a guy that knows my system. I can trust him. He'll hang down until he's pushed out.
Agreed.
Okay. And by the way, if with Christensen now, and you got Mays and Zavala, those are the top 3 backups. That's the case. And do you think they're okay there? Are they in good shape in case there's an injury for a short term?
Yeah. I think they're good. I like the depth on the offensive line. One cool note is that we were able to bring back all the guys from last year, right? So there's continuity. You still got the starters, obviously, but even Christensen, Mays, Zavala, who you just mentioned, Nijman, all those guys are coming back. So that whole room is brought back together. We got some continuity. The chemistry will be much better, and all that signals greatness in front of Bryce Young, which is what I need. That was a top 10 offensive line last year, right? And so that's what Bryce Young needs. He needed to be protected. He's going to be protected. Check. Now he's got the weapons. Check. He's going to have a solid run game and Chuba behind him. Check. Now we just need Canales to coach it and develop it. And I think this offense is going to take I think it's going to take that next step. And you can hear it in my voice.
I'm
really excited about it. I'm excited.
Look, I felt this way a couple other times. I felt this way with the Lions. Of course, you did a show with me and Jeff Risdon a while back, and just before they started to take big strides. Same thing I felt about Tampa Bay, to be honest. It's the reason why I actually bought in since Baker Mayfield's been there. And I'm starting to feel this way now with Carolina. I think now it's all depending upon the defense. So let's slide it on down and see if they have the defense after this offseason of movement. And sticking, of course, with the draft picks, the 2 guys that really stick out, of course, are 2 of their higher picks, edge rushers. Talk about the 2 edge rushers that they added, and what do you like about them?
Oh man, so the fact that we got Nick Scordon, I think Nick Scordon was one of the guys that was highly touted prior to the draft season, right? When draft season kicked off, he was probably in the top two or three edge rushers, and then fell down. I think people have to go back and look at his Purdue tape. When you go back and look at the Purdue tape, this guy was very, very, very good. Went to Texas A&M, bulked up. They had him do a couple different things. But people forget how good Scordon was at Purdue. This guy is very good power rusher, strong a run against the run defense. Strong against the run, high motor. He's very competitive. I think he's very, very solid. I think he's going to add exactly what we need. Probably going to be a rotational guy starting out, depending on what they do with Clowney. Now, word on the street is Clowney. They were trying to move him. They were trying to move
Really?
Clowney. Yeah, that's what word on the street
Why
is.
would they do that?
The word on the street, maybe trying to dump the contract. I don't know, but that was the word
Wow.
on the street was that they were trying to move Clowney prior to the draft, and maybe a little bit after the draft. I don't know. So
I thought he found a home.
don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if Clowney. The room is getting a little.
But why would you? Why are you not surprised about that? What have you heard of why that would be the case?
Listen, I think the contract. When you look at the contract, you looked at who else they brought in. Right, they brought in Pat Jones. Right, they brought in. They still got DJ Wanham. You just drafted two guys. You got in Nick Scorton and Princely. So you're bringing in a lot of bodies into the room. Right, can you keep them all? Who's going to get cut? Everybody can't stay. Right, so if you see a guy like Nick Scorton taking that huge step, you deem him to be the guy day one. Do you need a Clowney? I don't know. I'm not saying
for the price.
It should.
For the price, yeah.
It's going to be a cost cutting measure. Okay.
Well, so they could still renegotiate though. That is still something that is possible, don't you think?
It's possible. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. But the word on the street was that they were looking to move. Or just trying to see what was out there. Maybe they were just gauging interest. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean, what do you think about Clowney and what he did for the team last year?
I think Clowney is solid. He's not what he used to be, right? Very good against the run. I think that when you start to bring back some of the guys that we had, like Derrick Brown, when you bring Derrick Brown back into the fold, everybody's going to get better, right?
Oh yeah.
So I think that Clowney's not the pass rusher, the elite pass rusher guy that he once was, right? He's not that guy. He's good against the run, but you bring in a guy like Nick Scorton. Nick Scorton could potentially, right, take over. He's good against the run, and he's a solid pass rusher. I'm very interested to see what they do with Nick Scorton's play weight. Is he going to drop down to 265 like he was in Purdue and just be able to kind of use his speed to get it in athleticism? I don't know. But Clowney, it's interesting, man. I think Clowney is a veteran. He knows the game, right? You got to have those veterans. So I would like to see it. I would like us to keep him around for 1 year. I think this is the final year of his deal, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. But if you got Scorton, you got Clowney, you got DJ Wanham, you got Princely, you got Pat Jones. This is a solid group. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, this is Clowney's final deal, final year. And it looks like, there's not a whole lot of money. You know, the dead cap is only $6 million. The savings is almost $8 million. How is Carolina's salary cap situation?
So it's a little tight. It's a little tight. Not the best. I mean, we're kind of middle of the pack when it comes to the cap space.
Okay,
but it's not the worst. Not the best either.
This is a great time to renegotiate the contract anyway. I mean, just renegotiate it if you like them and say, hey, let's bring in numbers down. We'll give you a little bit of guaranteed money and spread it across for the next couple of years. That would be the way to do it. Because what you don't want to do is, the edge rushing situation for this team has been terrible the last couple of years. Now you finally start to build something. I think the worst thing you start to do is, all right, now we got too much. Let's start giving guys away because we need to save a little money. And then you don't know if these young kids are going to develop yet. So
you don't.
I that would be something that I'd be surprised about. I'm not saying that you're not wrong. You're not saying something that's not true and accurate. I'm just saying that I'd be surprised if they did that. I don't think that makes much sense unless there's something we don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of bodies, though. I mean, and when you look at the bodies, Clowney, Wanham, Pat Jones, Scorton, DJ Johnson, who's still on a rookie deal, Princely. There's a lot of bodies.
Let him fight it out.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah. If you're gonna trade him or cut him, do it during camp. Do it during the preseason. Correct. Once you see these guys really starting to step up.
All I'm saying is don't be surprised if something happens with Clowney or anybody. You know what I mean? For that matter. You know what I mean? Could be DJ Johnson for that matter. Could be on the end of his.
That's true.
His reign here, and I think he's starting to develop a little bit. Not where we want him to be, especially as a third round pick. He's not where he needs to be, but he's getting there.
Okay, so what about Princely?
Yeah,
what did you think about that one?
Princely, I like Princely, especially where we got him. When you got a guy, he's a really, really good athlete, extremely good bend. He's got quickness to beat offensive tackles to the punch. You know what I mean? He's got high upside, and I think he's a pure pass rusher. I think, and again, I'm not comparing him to Brian Burns, but I think he reminds me a lot of Brian Burns, right? And so I think that it could be very interesting to see Princely in his development. I think for now you're going to see him in third down packages, obvious pass rush situations. That's where you're going to see a guy like Princely. Again, very good athlete. I want to see him play with a little more power. He said he didn't have to use his power at Ole Miss because he was just that good. That's what he said. Not my words. That's what he said. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. But I do like the pick and where we got him.
Yeah. I mean, look, and worst case scenario, if he's mainly used as a pass rusher, that type of thing, nothing wrong with that. He does his job. Like you said, there's depth here now. That is something that is looking really good that we haven't seen in Carolina for a while. Okay. The other two draft picks, Ransom. We'll start there. Ransom going in round 4. And by the way, that was a really nice signing to get the kid Morig from Las Vegas. I've always been a fan of his coming out of college. So I think that was also a nice pickup. So what about Ransom joining the club?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be honest. Ransom was not the safety I wanted. We needed a safety very bad. He was not the safety I wanted, but I am starting to come around to it. There's been a lot of chatter about where he's gonna play and how he plays. Because I thought that personally when we drafted him, I thought it was a duplicate skill set to Mo Rig. I thought they were very similar, and we need more of a free. We got to have a guy that's going to be a free safety and kind of use his range. But right now, I just didn't think that Ransom and where you have him is where I have him, right? Playing behind Morig.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And I like Damani Richardson. Don't get me wrong. Damani's an undrafted guy who his development has been insane. He is the coker of the defense. He's that guy who came along, played very, very well, developed, got some starting experience, did a great job. But could we improve? Yes. And I thought that we could have used a pick to get a free safety. I like Ransom. I think he's very instinctive. This guy is a monster when it comes to playing at the line of scrimmage. He's a very, very good against the run. And I thought it's, again, very similar skill set to Morig. He could play deep safety, too. Again, played a lot of deep safety at Ohio State. I just thought that he plays better closer to the line of scrimmage. And, again, very reliable tackler. I mean, you see him in the backfield a lot when he watches Ohio State film. But again, we'll see what happens. I think the Panthers are going to try to use him and test him out at free and see if he can kind of take that spot and see if he can challenge Damani. But again, we'll see. This is a to be determined pick for me. I do like him. Don't get me wrong. I do like him. I just think it's a little bit of a duplicate skill set. And if anything, it's a very, very solid depth piece behind Morig.
All right. And then, by the way, before we get out of the secondary here, they added, as you can see there in Aqua, they added 4 signings. And I know, like you said, still time to dig into these guys. The main one that sticks out for me is Gifford. I know he had nice. He's like a big guy in campus in Nebraska. So he might be able to latch on somehow. He might be interesting. Mike Reed might be interesting as well. Let's move on to the final pick, and that is Cam Jackson, round 5. And I know we haven't talked since free agency, but see Jackson here. But here, what a pickup this was, huh? Bobby Brown, to get him to go along with Derek Brown, and also you add Wharton to this defensive line. You must have been pretty stoked when you heard Bobby Brown was coming to town.
Yeah, things are a little bit different. This is not last year's defense. This is not last year's worst defense in NFL history. This ain't it no more. So first of all, you got to acknowledge the fact that you're getting Derek Brown back. That's number one. That's a huge, huge piece of this defense, man. So getting Derek Brown back alone provides a huge spark to this defense before you even get the free agency. But then you do get the free agency, you add Bobby Brown. You got Wharton, who I really like as well. Wharton, very good, very solid against the run. He provides that pass rush as well from the defensive line. I think all of this signals, and I really, really, really like the Cam Jackson pick. I know that's where we started this conversation. Cam Jackson, very good pick. 6'6", 330 pounds. He's a hard to move guy, right? Massive frame, natural anchor versus double teams. That's what we need. We need a guy that's going to soak up the double teams to allow Derek Brown and Wharton to go to work and allow our outside linebackers to go to work. good short area strength. Very, very good. And I think we got him right where we need him. I think it signals bad news for a guy like Shy Tuttle.
Oh, okay.
I know you have Shy Tuttle marked at number 2, but I think that's another place where the Panthers could save a little bit of money, and I think they're going to look to do that. I think Cam Jackson is going to slide right in at number 2 behind Bobby Brown when it's all said and done. I think that was an excellent pickup for the Carolina Panthers because now you have true nose tackles. That's something that the Carolina Panthers have not had, is true nose tackles. Tuttle is not a true nose tackle like Cam Jackson and Bobby Brown.
Okay, excellent. And then they also, by the way, added another player after the draft that could be interesting, and that's Jared Harrison Hunt. He had a nice, couple of years, Miami, SMU. He's got some talent. So again, another one of these players that they signed after the draft. And yeah, I as far as the signings, and I've seen a lot of them so far, I think Carolina had one of the better post-draft college signings of any team. There are a lot of good, talented players, and maybe not surprising either because it's Carolina, and there's the depth is open. It's open for competition on the back end of the roster. So
that's exactly right. Carolina is the place you can come. And listen, we saw it last year. You have 2 examples. When I'm on the phone talking to a UDFA, I'm like, look, man, we just had this with Coker. You saw Coker was an undrafted guy, made the 53-man roster. Not just made the 53-man roster, he impacted. Same with Damani Richardson. You got examples on both sides of the coin. On both sides of the football. Hey, these guys made an impact. You can come to Carolina and challenge the back end of this roster and potentially make the team, right? So I'm happy about it. I'm very happy about the undrafted guys that we picked up, and I'm happy about the draft pick. The draft, this entire draft was an A+ for me, man. I've never seen the national media give us the amount of praise that we've been receiving. PFF A+ grade. It's been very good, and now it all boils down to the coaches. Can the coaches get the best out of their guys? And I'm happy to say that I have confidence in that because I've seen it with Coker, I've seen it with Damani. These guys are developing, and now we have continuity from year 1 to year 2. Canales, he's still here. That's step 1, is that we still have our head coach from last year.
That's a good starting point.
I know that seems rather futile, right? But listen, this is a win for the Carolina Panthers. Having your coach in back-to-back years is a big win for the Carolina Panthers, and we're going to see some development, right?
Yeah. And again, also that division is starting to get a little bit tougher.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Especially
for sure.
If Atlanta looks like they found their quarterback in Penix, and there's no reason to believe Tampa Bay is going to, fall back any. Boy, New Orleans is the one team that's going to have some problems. They've got a lot of different questions, no doubt about that. But it's a much better division than it has been the last couple of seasons. One more player to just mention is Ryan Fitzgerald, because he had a really good college career, and any chance that Ryan Fitzgerald can get a fair chance to make the team.
I think it's open. I think that kicking competition is open for business and open for competition. Matthew Wright, I think he played for us last year a little bit, so he has some familiarity with what we want to do and what we want out of our kicker. Fitzgerald, I do know about Fitzgerald because I'm a Florida State fan. I think he's got some issues once you get past 40 yards. So we'll see if he improves.
Deep leg.
No, he doesn't have a deep leg. Pretty solid again. Pretty solid when you get before the 40-yard. Anything under 40 yards, he's solid. But after 40, I think we're going to have some issues. So I think the kicking competition is wide open. They're going to look to get may the best man win. May the best man win.
And sometimes when you're a young team like Carolina, the coaching staff looks at these kicking situations and say, you know what we need more than anything is when you can make the kicks, the kicks you need to make, just the average kicks. Don't screw up. We need those drives to end with positive points. We can't have 38-yard field goal misses or even 43-yard field goal. We have to have somebody that we can count on. And then we'll start worrying about maybe bringing in someone that can boom them from 52 or 55. Right. So maybe that's going to be a plus for Ryan Fitzgerald if he has a good camp. So
yeah, we'll see. And we have seen Canales be pretty aggressive when it comes to fourth down. So I'm all for going for it. And so maybe we won't need to have those long kicks. So I don't know. We'll see.
All right. So, by the way, since we didn't talk of free agency, before I let you go, were there any free agent signings that they made outside of the marquee ones? Because there's a lot of other guys here that they signed. Sort of like, say, you know what? You may not believe, you may not think so, but keep an eye on this guy. I think he was a better signing than you believe.
I'm gonna go with Rosenboom. I think you had Rosenboom down there at linebacker, interior linebacker. I think that's one you may want to keep an eye on. I think he was solid, very productive with the Rams. Yeah. I think you really might want to keep an eye on him. You pair him next to Jewel, and you got a nice little tandem there. But keep an eye on. I don't know. It depends what's going to happen with Wallace. Is Wallace going to command that position, or are they going to go with the veteran presence and allow Rosenboom? So I think keep an eye on that competition. The interior linebacker competition is going to be interesting.
Do you think Rosenboom right now is should be penciled in as the starter until Wallace is ready to?
That's a tough one, but I don't know. I think you have it right. I think you have it right for right now, but I think it could be. I think Rosenboom could challenge him, and maybe that was just a depth pickup, but. I don't know. That's one you got to keep an eye. Keep an eye on that during. I'll keep an eye on that during training camp.
Yeah.
Pat Jones is another one you got to watch out for. Hopefully, he makes a solid impact for the defense.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about with that pass rush game. No question, he's a big part of that. Okay, so what you got going on over at Panther Nation Podcast? We're hitting the summer soon here. So what's going on?
Yeah, so we'll be breaking down the undrafted guys on our show here next week. We didn't get a chance to do that. Our show was so long going through that we were so excited about the draft itself that we didn't get a chance to get to the undrafted guys. So we'll be breaking those guys down next week. We'll be taking a look at some development guys, some guys that need to take that next step. Guys like Leggett. We're going to take a look, some spotlight, some guys, and see, hey, what you got to do? How are you going to fit into this new look offense? You know what I mean? So it's a lot to break down, a lot of excitement for the Carolina Panthers, and I think we're ready to challenge this division, man. I know this division has been down,
absolutely,
but like you said, I think everybody's kind of rising up, and I don't want to take that from the Atlanta Falcons. That's a little slogan, but I do think everybody's getting better. I think the Falcons have gotten better. They had a solid draft class. The Bucs had a really good draft class. The Saints had. I'm not a fan of the Shuck pick, but I think the Saints even can do a little damage. So I think the whole division is going to elevate.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be a much more exciting division to keep an eye on. And first things first here for Carolina fans, and that is to worry about yourself, take that next step. And I believe they're going to do that. So this is who knows? You know what you don't want to. We're gonna find out soon enough when we start getting into camp and everybody starts looking ahead at making predictions for the season. The media always takes a look at like one team is like their little pet team that they want, their surprise team for the season, and it always seems like 80% of them go with the same team. If you're Carolina, you don't want them to be that team. Just be very quiet,
right?
And going through, under the radar.
Love it.
But even though we say that, I think we know that they're going to have a really good season, and it's really good. At this point, it's all up to Bryce Young now. It's all up to Bryce Young, and if he continues to develop. No excuses.
Yeah, you can't say, oh, Bryce doesn't have any weapons. You can't say, oh, he doesn't have the coaching. You can't say anything. It's all on Bryce. And I firmly believe Bryce is going to do more than enough. He's going to do very well. He's going to do very well. He started to peak last season, at the end of last season, and we saw it. And I think the league is going to start to take notice. And I have full confidence that Bryce Young is the guy moving forward.
Yep.
And I have full confidence that he's going to have an excellent season next season.
And isn't it interesting how this is why you have to wait when making comparisons with quarterbacks and things of that nature. Look, Stroud has done a great job. There's no question about that. It's still too early. We have no idea in 3 or 4 years which one of these quarterbacks is going to have more success than the other. But it's great. The NFL needs these young quarterbacks to develop, and Bryce Young is definitely looking like he's starting to do that. So it's great not only for Carolina but for the NFL. So Rashad, I appreciate your time as always. And next week should be a lot of fun. If you're a Panther fan out there, check it out, because as you said, they're going to be really putting a microscope to all these college free agent signings. And I've said there are a lot of good ones there to dig into. I think several of those guys, a couple of them can make the team. And I think several of them will be on the practice squad for sure and could be valuable assets down the line for Carolina. So check out the Panther Nation podcast. We have a link in the description for that, where you can follow Rashad and also Dave. who is one of my competitors in our Dynasty League. So you can check that out. And we'll talk more Carolina Panthers football when we get around to training camp. So, Rashad, have a great next couple of months. And unless something blockbustery comes around, I'll talk to you then.
Hey, you do the same, man. Always a pleasure coming on. Our lads, man. Good time, good product. See y'all guys later, man. Appreciate it.